Ladies and gentlemen, today we continue the story of the Wolf Queen of Solitude. Here at Sickly Bernice's Tap House. And for the entire month, we're gonna be reading books because goddamn, we got a lot of fucking books to read. And not a whole lot more exploring and quests to complete with that amount of time. So we're going to take the month and just read a shit ton of books. I think I'm actually going to read 3 books in each video. Obviously, it depends on the length of the books, but I think I'm going to try and do 3 of them, so I hopefully, but probably still, won't have to, have another month like this just fucking reading books, because I don't think anyone wants that. The Wolf Queen, Book 3. If you missed parts 1 and 2, it was in our last video. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Anyway, The Wolf Queen, Book 3 by Wayne Jarth. From the pen of the 1st century 3rd era sage Montakai. 3rd era, 98. The Emperor Pelagius Septim II died a few weeks before the end of the year, on the 15th of Evening Star during the Festival of North Wind's Prayer, which was considered a bad omen for the Empire. He had ruled over a different 17 years. In order to fill the bankrupt treasury, Pelagius had dismissed the Elder Council, forcing them to buy back their positions. Several good but poor councillors had been lost. Many say the Emperor had died as a result of being poisoned by a vengeful former council member. His children came to attend his funeral and the coronation of the next emperor. His youngest son, Prince Magnus, 19 years of age, arrived from Almalexia, where he had been a counselor to the royal court. 21-year-old Prince Sepphoris arrived from Ghislaine with his Redguard bride, Queen Bianchi. Prince Antiochus, at 43 years of age, the eldest child and heir presumptive, had been with his father in the imperial city. The last to appear was his only daughter, Potema, the so-called Wolf Queen of Solitude. 30 years old and radiantly beautiful, she arrived with a magnificent entourage, accompanied by her husband, the elderly King Mantiarco. I thought that said Manamorco for half a second, and I was like, whoa! The elderly King Mantiarco and her year-old son, Uriel. All expected Antiochus to assume the throne of the empire, but no one knew what to expect from the Wolf Queen. 3rd era, 99. Lord Voken has been bringing several men to your sister's chambers late at night every night this week, offered the spy master. Perhaps if her husband were made aware. My sister is a devote of the conqueror gods Riemann and Talos, not the love goddess Bella. She is plotting with those men, not having orgies with them. I'd wager I've slept with more men than she has, laughed Antiochus, and then grew serious. Fucking guy. She's behind the delay at the council offering me the crown. I know it. 6 weeks now. They say they need to update records and prepare for the coronation. I'm the emperor. Crown me into oblivion with the formalities. Your sister is surely no friend of yours, your majesty, but there are no other factors at play. Do not forget how your father treated the council. It is they who need following, and if need be, strong convincing, the spy master added, with a suggestive stab of his dagger. Do so, but keep your eye on the damnable Wolf Queen as well. You know where to find me. At which brothel, your highness? Inquired the spy master. Today being Fridas, I'll be at the Cat and Goblin. Where the fuck is the Cat and Goblin, bruh? Where the fuck is this? Oh, man. I guess they got rid of all the brothels in the Imperial City, huh? The spy master noted in his reports that night that Queen Potema had no visitors, for she was dining across the Imperial Garden at the Blue Palace with her mother, the Dowager? Empress Quintilla. It was a warm night for wintertide and surprisingly cloudless though the day had been stormy. The saturated ground could not take any more, so the formal structural gardens looked as if they had been glazed with water. The 2 women took their wine to the wide balcony to look over the grounds. I believe you are trying to sabotage your half-brother's coronation, said Catulla, not looking at her daughter. Potema saw how the years had not so much wrinkled her mother as faded her, like the sun on a stone. It's not true, said Potema. But would it bother you very much if it were true? Antiochus is not my son. He was 11 years old when I married your father, and we've never been close. I think that being heir presumptive has stunted his growth. He is old enough to have a family with grown children, and yet he spends all his time at debauchery and fornication. He will not make a very good emperor, Catulla sighed, and then turned to Potema. But it is bad for the family for seeds of discontent to be sown. It is easy to divide up into factions, but very difficult to unite again. I fear for the future of the empire. Those sound like the words, "Are you, by any chance, dying, mother?" I've read the omens, said Quintilla, with a faint, ironic smile. Don't forget, I was a renowned sorceress in Camlorn. I will dead in a few months' time. I will be dead in a few months' time. And then, not a year later, your husband will die. Wow, jeez, okay. I only regret that I will not live to see your child Uriel assume the throne of solitude. Have you seen whether... Potema stopped, not wanting to reveal too many of her plans, even to a dying woman. Whether he will be emperor? Aye, I know the answer to that too, daughter. Don't fear. You'll live to see the answer, one way or the other. I have a gift for him when he is of age. The dowager empress removed a necklace with a single great yellow gem from around her neck. It's a soul gem, infused with the spirit of a great werewolf your father and I defeated in battle 36 years ago. I've enchanted it with spells from the School of Illusion so its wearer may charm whoever he chooses. An important skill for a king. And an emperor, said Potema, taking the necklace. Thank you, mother. An hour later, passing the black branches of the sculptured dodge shrubs, Potema noticed a dark figure, which vanished into the shadows under the eaves at her approach. She had noticed people following her before. It was one of the hazards of life in the imperial court. But this man was too close to her chambers. She slipped the necklace around her neck. Come out where I can see you, she commanded. The man emerged from the shadows, a dark little fellow of middle age dressed in black dyed goatskin. His eyes were fixed, frozen, under her spell. Who do you work for? Just because of the fucking gem, goddamn. Prince Antiochus is my master, he said in a dead voice. I am a spy. A plan formed. Is the prince in his study? No, milady. And you have access? Yes, milady. Potema smiled widely. She had him. Lead the way. The next morning, the storm reappeared in all its fury. The pelting on the walls and ceiling was agony to Antiochus, who was discovering that he no longer had his youthful immunity to a late night of hard drinking. He shoved hard against the Argonian wench sharing his bed. Whoa. That's an Argonian maid, too. Come on. Make yourself useful and close the window, he moaned. No sooner had the window been bolted than there was a knock at the door. It was the spy master. He smiled at the prince and handed him a sheet of paper. What is this? Said Antiochus, squinting his eyes. I must still be drunk. It looks like Orcish. I think you will find it useful, your majesty. Your sister is here to see you. Antiochus considered getting dressed or sending his bedmaid out, but thought better of it. Show her in. Let her be scandalized. If Potema was scandalized, she did not show it. Swathed in orange and silver silk, she entered the room with a triumphant smile, followed by the man-mountain Lord Voken. Dear brother, I spoke to my mother last night, and she advised me very wisely. She said I should not battle with you in public, for the good of our family and the empire. Therefore, she said, producing from the folds of her robe a piece of paper, I am offering you a choice. A choice, said Antiochus, returning her smile. That does sound friendly. Abdicate your rights to the imperial throne voluntarily, and there is no need for me to show the council this, Potema said. That kind of really defeated the epicness of that sentence right there. Handing her brother the letter. It is a letter with your seal on it, saying that you knew that your father was not Pelagius Septim II, but the royal steward, Fonduct. Now, before you deny writing the letter, you cannot deny the rumors, nor that the Imperial Council will believe that your father, the old fool, was quite capable of being cuckolded. I don't know why cuckolded. I like cuckold. Like yeah, that word is common enough, but cuckolded sounds extra weird. Whatever. Whether it's true or not, or whether the letter is a forgery or not, the scandal of it would ruin your chances of being the Emperor. Antiochus' face had gone white with fury. Don't fear, brother, said Potema, taking back the letter from his shaking hands. I will see to it that you have a very comfortable life, and all the horrors your heart or any other organ desires. Suddenly, Antiochus laughed. He looked over at his spy master and winked. I remember when you broke into my stash of Khajiit erotica and blackmailed me. That was close to 20 years ago. We've got better locks now. You must have noticed. It must have killed you that you couldn't use your own skills to get what you wanted. Potema merely smiled. It didn't matter. She had him. You must have charmed my servant here into getting you into my study to use my seal, Antiochus smirked. A spell, perhaps, from your mother, the witch? Potema continued to smile. Her brother was cleverer than she thought. Did you know that charm spells, even powerful ones, only last so long? Of course you didn't. You never were one for magic. Let me tell you, a generous salary is a stronger motivation for keeping a servant in the long run, sister. Antiochus took out his own sheet of paper. Now I have a choice for you. What is that? Said Potema, her smile faltering. It looks like nonsense. But if you know what you're looking for, it's very clear. It's a practice sheet. Your handwriting attempting to look like my handwriting. It's a good gift you have. I wonder if you haven't done this before, imitating another person's handwriting. I understand a letter was found from your husband's dead wife saying that his first son was a bastard. I wonder if you wrote that letter. I wonder if I showed this evidence of your gift to your husband, whether he would believe you wrote that letter. In the future, dear Wolf Queen, don't lay the same trap twice. Potema shook her head, furious, unable to speak. Goddamn, the fucking this dude is super hungover, just woke up, fucking whore still in the room, and is fucking delivering it. Goddamn. Not in that sense. Anyway, give me your forgery and go take a walk in the rain. And then, later today, unhatch whatever other plots you have to keep me from the throne. Antiochus fixed his eyes on Potema's. I will be the Emperor, Wolf Queen. Now go. Potema handed her brother the letter and left the room. For a few moments out in the hallway, she said nothing. She merely glared at the slivers of rainwater dripping down the marble wall from a tiny, unseen crack. Yes, you will, brother, she said, but not for very long. And that was Volume 3. And on to Volume 4, the halfway point, at least once we finish it. The Wolf Queen, Book 4, by Wayne Joth. From the pen of the 1st century 3rd era sage Montagai. 3rd era, 109. 10 years after being crowned Emperor of Tamriel, Antiochus Septim had impressed his subjects with little but the enormity of his lust for carnal pleasures. By his second wife, Jacilla, he had a daughter in the year 104, who he named Kintera. After his great-great-great-grandaunt, the Empress, enormously fat and marked by every venereal disease known to the healers, Antiochus spent little time on politics. His siblings, by marked contrast, excelled in this field. Magnus had married Helena, the Cyrodiil queen of Lilmoth, the Argonian priest-king having been executed, and was representing the imperial interests in Black Marsh admirably. Sepphoris and his wife Bianchi, what a fucking name, were ruling the Hammerfell kingdom of Ghislaine with a healthy brood of children. But no one was more politically active than Potema, the Wolf Queen of the Skyrim Kingdom of Solitude. 9 years after the death of her husband, King Mantiarco, Potema still ruled as regent for her young son Uriel. Their court had become very fashionable, particularly for rulers who had a grudge to bear against the Emperor. All the kings of Skyrim visited Castle Solitude regularly, and over the years, emissaries from the lands of Morrowind and High Rock did as well. Some guests came from even further away. 3rd era, 110. Potema stood at the harbor and watched the boats from Pandonia arrive. against the gray, breaking waves where she had seen so many vessels of Tamrielic manufacture, it looked less than exotic. Insectoid, certainly, with its membranous sails and rugged chitin hull, but she had seen similar, if not identical, seacraft in Morrowind. No, if not for the flag, which was markedly alien, she would not have picked out the ship from others in the harbor. As the salty mist ballooned around her, she held out her hand in welcome to the visitors from another island empire. The men aboard were not merely pale, they were entirely colorless, as if their flesh were made of some white, limpid jelly, but she had been forewarned. At the arrival of the king and his translator, she looked directly into their blank eyes and offered her hand. The king made noises. What the fuck? His Great Majesty, King Orgnum, said the translator haltingly, expresses his delight at your beauty. He thanks you for giving him refuge from these dangerous seas. You speak Cyrodiilic very well, said Potema. I am fluent in the languages of 4 continents. Wow, said the translator. I can speak to the denizens of my own country, Pyandonia. That's a fucking name right there. As well as those of Atmora, Akavir, and here, in Tamriel. Yours is the easiest, actually. I was looking forward to this voyage. Please tell His Highness that he is welcome here, and that I am entirely at his disposal, said Potema, smiling. Then she added, You understand the context, that I am just being polite. Of course, said the translator, and then made several noises at the king, which the king reacted to with a smile. While they conversed, Potema looked up the dock and saw the now familiar gray cloaks watching her while they spoke with Levlet and Tychus's man. The Sigic order from the Somerset Isle, very bothersome. My diplomatic emissary Lord Voken will show you to your room, said Potema. Unfortunately, I have some other guests as well who require my attention. I hope your Great Majesty understands. His Great Majesty, King Orgnum, did understand, and Potema made arrangements to dine with the Pyandonians that evening. Meeting with the Sigic Order required all of her concentration. She dressed in her simplest black and gold robe and went to her stateroom to prepare. Her son, Uriel, was on the throne, playing with his pets. Jogit? What the fuck is that? Good morning, Mom. Good morning, darling, said Potema, lifting her son in the air with feigned stain. Talos, but you're heavy. I don't think I've ever carried such a heavy 10-year-old. That's probably because I'm 11, said Uriel, perfectly aware of his mother's tricks. And you're going to say that, as an 11-year-old, I should probably be with my tutor. I was fanatical about studying at your age, said Potema. I am king, said Uriel petulantly. But don't be satisfied with that, said Potema. By all rights, you should be emperor already. You understand that, don't you? Uriel nodded his head. Potema took a moment to marvel at his likeness to the portraits of Tiber Septim. The same ruthless brow and powerful chin. When he was older and lost his baby fat, he'd be a splitting image of his great granduncle. Behind her, she heard the door opening and an usher bringing in several gray cloaks. She stiffened slightly, and Uriel, on cue, jumped down from the throne and left the stateroom, pausing to greet the most important of the Sigics. Good morning, Master Achesis, he said, enunciating each syllable with a regal accent that made Potema's heart soar. I hope your accommodations at Castle Solitude meet with your approval. They do, King Uriel, thank you, said Achesis, delighted and charmed. Achesis and the Sigics entered the chamber, and the door was shut behind them. Potema sat only for a moment on the throne before stepping off the dais and greeting her guests. I am so sorry to have kept you waiting, said Potema. To think that you sailed all the way from the Somerset Isles, and I should keep you waiting any longer. You must forgive me. It's not all that long a voyage, said one of the gray cloaks angrily. Angrily? It's not all that long of a voyage. It isn't as if we sailed all the way from Pyandonia. I don't know why you're so fucking angry, eh? Ah, you've seen my most recent guest, King Orgnum, and his retinue, said Potema breezily. I suppose you think it's unusual, me entertaining them, as we all know the Pyandonians mean to invade Tamriel. You are, I take it, as neutral in this as you are in all political matters. Of course, said Achesis proudly. We have nothing to gain or lose by the invasion. The Sigic Order preceded the organization of Tamriel under the Septim Dynasty, and we shall survive under any political regime. Rather like a flea on whatever mongrel happens along, are you? Said Potema, narrowing her eyes. Don't overestimate your importance, Achesis. Your order's child, the Mages Guild, has twice the power you have, and they are entirely on my side. We are in the process of making an agreement with King Orgnum. When the Pyandonians take over and I am in my proper place as Empress of this continent, then you shall know your proper place in the order of things. With a majestic stride, Potema left the stateroom, leaving the Grey Cloaks to look from one to the other. We must speak to Lord Levlet, said one of the Grey Cloaks. Yes, said Achesis. Perhaps we should. Levlet was quickly found at his usual place at the Moon and Nausea Tavern. What the fuck is that? As the three Grey Cloaks entered, led by Achesis, the smoke and the noise seemed to die in their path. Even the smell of tobacco and Flynn dissipated in their wake. He rose and then escorted them to a small room upstairs. You've reconsidered, said Levlet with a broad smile. Your Emperor, said Achesis, and then corrected himself. Our Emperor originally asked for our support in defending the west coast of Tamriel from the Pyandonian fleet in return for 12 million gold pieces. Goddamn, that's a lot of gold. We offered our services at 50. Upon reflection on the dangers that a Pyandonian invasion would have, we accept his earlier offer. The Mages Guild has generously, perhaps for as low as 10 million gold pieces, said Achesis quickly. Over the course of dinner, Potema promised King Orgnum, through the interpreter, to lead an insurrection against her brother. She was delighted to discover that her capacity for lying worked in many different cultures. Potema shared her bed that night with King Orgnum, goddamn, as it seemed the polite and diplomatic thing to do. Oh yeah, of course, right. As it turned out, he was one of the better lovers she had ever had. All right. He gave her some herbs before beginning that made her feel as if she was floating on the surface of time, conscious only of the gestures of love after she had found herself making them. I feel like why? Okay, kind of like unnecessary details, but like, you gotta keep the reader entertained, you know? She felt herself like the cooling mist, quenching the fire of his lust over and over and over again. Goddamn, my dude. In the morning, when he kissed her on the cheek and said with his bald, white eyes that he was leaving her, she felt a stab of regret. The ship left harbor that morning en route to the Somerset Isles and the imminent invasions. She waved them off to sea as she footsteps behind her. It was Levlet. Okay, that's a very weird sentence there. They will do it for 8 million, your highness, he said. Thank Mara, said Potema. I need more time for an insurrection. Pay them from my treasury, and then go to the Imperial City and get the 12 million from Antiochus. We should make a good profit from this game, and you, of course, will have your share. 3 months later, Potema heard that the fleet of the Pyandonians had been utterly destroyed by a storm that had appeared suddenly off the Isle of Artaeum. Oh, goddamn. The home port of the Sigic Order. King Orgnum and all of his ships had been utterly annihilated. Damn, we'll never get to learn his secrets. God, you didn't even get the potion. You didn't even get, like, the special concoction for that fucking herb that he gave. Ugh. Sometimes making people hate you, she said, holding her son Uriel close, is how you make a profit. Well, congratulations, lady. You done made 3 million gold, which is only 500,000 gold more than I've made in the entire time I've been playing this game, which I feel like is not quite that much, to be honest, especially if you're trying to, buy an army, I'm imagining, is what she'll do next with that. Alright, last book for the day, The Wolf Queen, Volume 5, 17 pages, alright. The Wolf Queen, Book 5, from the pen of Insulicus, 2nd century sage and student of Montekai. 3rd Era 119. For 21 years, the Emperor Antiochus Septim ruled Tamriel and proved an able leader despite his moral laxity. His greatest weakness was in the War of the Isle. The War of the Isle. The hell is that? In the year 110, when the Imperial fleet and the royal navies of Somerset Isle, together with the magical powers of the Sigic Order, succeeded in destroying the Pyandonian and invading armada. His siblings, King Magnus of Lilmoth, King Sepphoris of Ghislaine, and Potema, the Wolf Queen of Solitude, ruled well, and relations between the Empire and the kingdoms of Tamriel were very much improved. Still, centuries of neglect had not repaired all the scars that existed between the Empire and the kings of High Rock and Skyrim. During a rare visitation from his sister and nephew Uriel, Antiochus, who had suffered from several illnesses over his reign, lapsed into a coma. For months he lingered in between life and death while the Elder Council prepared for the ascension of his 15-year-old daughter, Kintera, to the throne. Third Era, 120. Mother, I can't marry Kintera, said Uriel, more amused by the suggestion than offended. She's my first cousin. Yeah, you definitely should not be doing that. And besides, I believe she's engaged to one of the Lords of Council, Medellus. You're so squeamish. There's a time and a place for propriety, said Potema, but you're correct at any rate about Medellus, and we shouldn't offend the Elder Council at this critical juncture. How do you feel about Princess Rachma? You spent a good deal of time in her company in Farun. She's all right, said Uriel. How old is this guy right now, huh? Said Uriel. Don't tell me you want to hear all the dirty details. Please spare me your study of her anatomy, Potema grimaced. But would you marry her? I suppose so. Very good. I'll make the arrangements then. Potema made a note for herself before continuing. King Leromo has been a difficult ally to keep, and a political marriage should keep Farun on our side. Should we need them? When is the funeral? What funeral? Asked Uriel. You mean for Uncle Antiochus? Of course, sighed Potema. Anyone else of note die recently? There were a bunch of little Redguard children running through the halls, so I guess Sepphoris has arrived. Magnus arrived at court yesterday, so it ought to be any day now. It's time to address the council then, said Potema, smiling. She dressed in black, not her usual colorful ensemble. It was important to look the part of the grieving sister. Regarding herself in the mirror, she felt that she looked all of her 53 years. A shock of silver wound its way through her auburn hair. The long, cold, dry winters in northern Skyrim had created a map of wrinkles, thin as a spiderweb, all across her face. Still, she knew that when she smiled, she could win hearts, and when she frowned, she could inspire fear. It was enough for her purposes. Potema's speech to the Elder Council is perhaps helpful to students of public speaking. Wow, another skill book! She began with flattery and self-abasement. My most august and wise friends, members of the Elder Council, I am but a provincial queen, and I can only assume to bring to issue what you yourselves must have already pondered. She continued on to praise the late emperor, who had been a popular ruler, despite his flaws. He was a true septim and a great warrior, destroying, with your counsel, the near-invincible armada of Pyandonia. But little time was wasted before she came to her point. The Empress Gisela, unfortunately, did nothing to temper my brother's lustful spirits. In point of fact, no whore in the slums of the city spread out on more beds than she. Had she attended to her duties in the imperial bedchamber more faithfully, we would have a true heir to the empire, not the half-wit, milksop bastards who call themselves the emperor's children. The girl called Kintera is popularly believed to be the daughter of Gisela, in the captain of the guard. It may be that she is the daughter of Gisela and the boy who cleans the cistern. We can never know for certain, not as certainly as we can know the lineage of my son, Uriel, the eldest true son of the Septim dynasty. My lords, the princes of the empire will not stand for a bastard on the throne, that I can assure you. She ended mildly, but with a call to action. Posterity will judge you. You will know what must be done. That evening, Potema entertained her brothers and their wives in the map room, her favorite of the imperial dining chambers. The walls were splashed with bright, if fading, representations of the Empire in all the known lands beyond. At Mora, Ukunda, Akavir, Pyandonia, Thras. Overhead, the great glass domed ceiling, wet with rain, displayed distorted images of the stars overhead. Lightning flashed every other minute, casting strange phantom shadows on the walls. "When will you speak to the council?" asked Potema as dinner was served. "I don't know if I will," said Magnus. "I don't believe I have anything to say." "I'll speak to them when they announce the coronation of Kintera," said Sepphoris, merely as a formality to show my support and the support of Hammerfell. "You can speak for all of Hammerfell?" asked Potema, with a teasing smile. "The Red Guards must love you very much." "We have a unique relationship with the Empire in Hammerfell," said Sepphoris' wife, Bianchi. "Since the Treaty of Strass-Mackay, it's been understood that we are part of the Empire, but not a subject." "I understand you've already spoken to the council," said Magnus' wife, Helena, pointedly. She was a diplomat by nature, but as the Cyrodiilic ruler of an Argonian kingdom, she knew how to recognize and confront adversity. "Yes, I have," said Potema, pausing to savor a slice of braised Jowf bird. "I gave them a short speech about the coronation this afternoon." "Our sister is an excellent public speaker," said Sepphoris. Oh, they don't know anything about that conversation, huh? "You're too kind," said Potema, laughing. "I do many things better than speaking." "Such as?" asked Bianchi, smiling. "Might I ask what you said in your speech?" asked Magnus, suspiciously. There was a knock on the chamber door. The head steward whispered something to Potema, who smiled in response and rose from the table. "I told the council that I would give my full support to the coronation, provided they proceed with wisdom." "What could be sinister about that?" Potema said, and took her glass of wine with her to the door. "If you'll pardon me, my niece Kintera wishes to have a word with me." Kintera stood in the hall with the Imperial Guard. She was but a child, but on reflection, Potema realized that at her age she was already married 2 years to Mantiarco. There was a similarity, to be certain. Potema could see Kintera as the young queen, with dark eyes and pallid skin, smooth and resolute like marble. Anger flashed momentarily in Kintera's eyes on seeing her aunt, but emotion left her, replaced with calm imperial presence. "Queen Potema," she said sincerely, "I have been informed that my coronation will take place in 2 days' time. Your presence at the ceremony will not be welcome. I have already given orders to your servants to have your belongings packed, and an escort will be accompanying you back to your kingdom tonight. That is all. Goodbye, Aunt." Potema began to reply, but Kintera and her guard turned and moved back down the corridor to the stateroom. The Wolf Queen watched them go, and then re-entered the map room. "Sister-in-law," said Potema, addressing Bianchi with deep malevolence, "you asked what I do better than speaking. The answer is... war." Dun, dun, dun. Wow, that is a great spot for us to end this video. With that, yeah, that's gonna do it for today. I don't think I'm gonna move from this chair. I'm not gonna move from this chair all goddamn month. That is fucking crazy. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today. In our next video, you already know what we're doing. We're finishing off the story of the Wolf Queen. Yeah, pretty short. We got 13 pages. What was this one? This wasn't. Oh, that one's 13. Oh, yeah, 13 pages, 17 pages, and then 19 pages for this last book. It's nothing too bad. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And why am I saying when next return? And I hope you have a very good day. Derp to the derp. Goodbye.
Cause I don't wanna see the glow without you. Refuse to even leave my home without you. Or my brain's gonna explode without you. I don't even know how to cope without you. Cause I don't wanna see the glow without you. Refuse to even leave my home without you. Or my brain's gonna explode without you. I don't even know how to cope without you.